So the Pentagon is investigating UFOs. I mean, come on, really? Are you really surprised? Cue the music. Hey, this is UBR, UFO report number 77. It's a day late, but we're getting it done, people. Bear with me. It's been a crazy bunch of weeks, so the schedule is a tiny bit off, all right? Come on, give me a break. But the buzz, the big talk of the town, the thing that everyone in ufology is going apeshit about, is the fact that the Pentagon admitted that they've been researching UFOs. That is weird in and of itself. But let's talk about how this came about to begin with. Because I've waited. Yesterday I was going to do this podcast. I was going to record it. I was going to get it out there. I was going to talk about this. But then I started seeing the reactions that people are having regarding this, and the fact that also To the Stars had a little bit of a hand in this, thanks to one of their members and their affiliation with that program in the Pentagon that was looking at aerial threats, which we like to call UFOs. So I kind of sat back because some of the people that are reacting to this were 4.2 far on this. I'm just not there. I'm just not there yet. And so I got two articles that are linked into the description. So these are the ones that are tied together. This is all one big, gigantic thing that happened to be disclosed. And it looks like there's little disclosure reports about this ongoing, relating to the video and relating to the Pentagon issue as well. So from what I can see right now, there's an article that I looked at from CNN, which is talking about the Pentagon official that goes by the name of Luis Elizondo. Now, Luis is already resigned, apparently back in October, from the Pentagon. And apparently he's joined To the Stars, Tom DeLonge's little recently announced group entity that's going to, investigate UFOs. I mean, he is a UFO researcher of the year, so let's give the guy a break. Apparently he was sitting on something, but that's where we're at. So the story goes basically that Mr. Luis Elizondo, along with the release of this video, decided to state that in the time that he was involved with this program that was looking at aerospace aerial phenomena, that the program was really started to look at threats, which, like I said, we talk about this as UFOs. What's funny is that he says he can't speak for the Pentagon, but there's a quote in here that says that on his personal belief is that there is very compelling evidence that we may not be alone. And this is what he told CNN as part of an interview. He also then turned around and told the New York Times that he resigned from the Department of Defense in October because he was protesting over what he called excessive secrecy surrounding the program and internal opposition to it after funding for the effort ended in 2012. So let's talk about this, because historically we've seen things. We've seen research projects, Project Blue Book and all this other stuff that mysteriously the funding stops and apparently the government is not researching anymore. But then later on we see there's another project and then there's another project. And now apparently there was a project in the 2000s now. There is no reason for the government to ever say that they are not researching this. And I think many people know instinctively that any government, any sovereign government has to take these things seriously. You can't just assume that only people who are potheads and crackheads are seeing UFOs. Not if you are a sovereign government that's hell-bent on protecting itself and its people. Well, mainly itself. I don't think the government gives two shits about the people. So there is just no way. There is no way that the United States at any point really gave up this. Well, I think that what they did was they kept moving it around, right? They keep changing the name. They're putting it under that department. They're putting it under this department. And it keeps moving every so many years. But now we have someone, Mr. Elizondo, who felt strongly that what they saw or what was being reported to them of what they were investigating was 4.2 far. It was too much, and it shouldn't be held secret. Because if you read the account of one of the individuals that's in that video, one of the pilots, about some of the things that he saw on that day, and the fact that he's saying that it's just no way that that was a conventional aircraft. And he goes on to say that after 18 years of being a pilot, that he just could not believe what he saw. And he didn't believe that that was from an earthly origin. And we'll get into that in the next article about what he described and some of the things that you don't see in the video. Because it's important. In many ways, when this video first came out, I said, there's a lot of clickbaiting here. Because even in some of the articles and some of the press releases, they were saying that there were other videos to follow. Well, I don't want to see other videos. I want to see the rest of this video. I want to see what happened after that Tic Tac shaped craft rotated its position. What happened next? What's the rest of the story? It seems like, again, we're coming across a point where we have this hypersensitivity to the UFO story. And we're getting these projects coming out. And we're getting all these people making groups and making teams and building companies around the topic. We've got billionaires spending tons of money to collect artifacts, to collect data, and hoard it, to use it for themselves to try to solve this mystery. But are we going to repeat history again? Are we going to repeat this where we have all this research and we have all these people reporting A, B through Z, but when it comes down to it, at the end of the day, we, the people, will have nothing. There will be nothing for us. We will still remain in the dark, as we already see this so-called project closed due to funding. Does that mean that in 25 years, we will amazingly be alerted to another project? Or in 50 years? How can so many people say that there is a threat, there is something from 4.2 far, but no one really acknowledge it? I'm starting to sound like Stephen Greer. I feel unacknowledged. And so do you, because you're listening to this podcast. You're unacknowledged. You may not look like the reptilian man, but you're unacknowledged. Mr. Elizondo said the program sought to identify what had been seen either through tools or eyewitness reports, and then ascertain and determine if that information is a potential threat to national security. He ended that statement with, "We found a lot." But there's a caveat to this. There's a caveat which we really have to understand, and that is that Mr. Elizondo, his little research group that he was part of, that little project, and honestly, the pilots that were in that F-18 Hornet that captured this video, none of them, I would think, would have any access to any of the secret projects that have to do with this type of vehicle. Now, one can assume that we've known about vehicles that do things like this for some time, and then you can almost paint that dotted line to maybe what they say, and we hear all the time about a TR-3B being a government vehicle used for deep space and handling things with ships like this Tic Tac. And I'm referring it to a Tic Tac in case you haven't read the article, because that's what the pilot described it like, a Tic Tac. A 40-foot Tic Tac, but a Tic Tac nonetheless. And the reason I say that about these people not knowing everything, because part of Elizondo's quote was that these aircrafts, and he says he vehemently calls them aircrafts, were displaying characteristics that are not currently within the U.S. inventory nor any foreign inventory that we are aware of. And it's an important statement. It's an important statement that he needed to include. Because for all he knows, this was Corey Goode and his boys going into space. But he doesn't know that. He doesn't. He doesn't have a clue. We could have vehicles out there that appear to be 40, 60 years ahead of what's normally flying in our skies. But he might not know that because it's top secret. It's beyond secret. It's what people call the dark government. Why would Elizondo know that? It's a cool video, I admit it. It's very cool. But what's even stranger is what happened before we see this video and what the pilot reported in his interview. That's up next.
You're listening to UFO Buster Radio, and I have a question for you. Do you like to go fishing, or do you want to learn how to fish? Well, I have the answer for you. Whether you're an avid angler or just starting out, Angling Waters Outdoors is the place to learn and advance your fishing skills. I'll be your guide, Marty Angler. And I'm not just a bass fishing tournament angler, but I also like to fish for other species as well. I'll help guide you through the different methods and baits to help you catch more fish all year long. So catch me at Angling Waters Outdoors here on Spreaker. Now back to UFO Buster Radio and my friend Manny Moonraker.
All right, so the next article is kind of tied to the whole Elizondo thing and the whole Pentagon project and so forth. So the title for this is Stunning Tic Tac Shaped UFO Encounter by U.S. Navy Pilot. It was not from this world. Because if you don't recognize the aircraft, it's got to be from deep space somewhere. So according to this, now this incident occurred in November of 2004. This retired pilot apparently is one of the ones that is associated with the video that's been released. So he's a retired pilot, and it was in 2004 when he encountered this object that he claimed was not from this planet. His name is Commander David Fravor, and he's a Navy pilot, and he had 18 years of experience. One of the quotes from him is, "I can tell you I think it was not from this world. I'm not crazy. I haven't been drinking. It was, after 18 years of flying, I've seen pretty much about everything that I can see in that realm, and that was nothing close." So he described the object, which was on which they came across. So he described the object, which they came across on a routine training mission off the coast of California, as a 40-foot wingless object that pretty much looked like a flying Tic Tac. And he says that the speeds that it was flying was incredibly high, and it was doing some really strange maneuvers and flying in strange patterns. He says that the controllers from the Navy ship reported that the objects were dropping out of the sky from 80,000 feet and then going straight back up again into the sky. Yet again, I can see where people would think this is 4.2 far, because how many objects do we know that can do that right now? So he said right off the bat, he knew that this was going to be an interesting situation. Honestly, if you listen to that video, he was not let down at 1 second. Now, he did say this, which you don't hear in the video. He said at one point they looked down to see a white disturbance in the water, like something under the surface, and the waves are breaking over. But what we see next to it, and it's flying around, and it's a little white Tic Tac, and it's moving around left, right, forward, back, just random. So this is what he describes. And if you listen to the video, he says there was like a whole fleet of these things. 40-foot wingless objects that look like Tic Tacs. Granted, I mean, you can't really say that shit's not weird. And if you have a pilot who's in an F-18 Hornet, what do you do? What do you do when you see something doing these things, which you know that the craft you're in cannot complete that, cannot even keep up with that? And you're not exactly engaged in a combat situation, you're just looking in awe, wondering what the hell is going on. So this is it. The question for me right now, and probably for many of you, is this another rubber dicking? Have we been clickbaited? Are we going to be strung along with little clips? I mean, really, if you look at this and you look at some of the recent movies that have been out there, it doesn't look any different, folks. The video itself is not what's amazing. What's amazing for many is the fact that the Pentagon said, yeah, we've been looking at things like this. What's amazing for many is that Elizondo is saying there was more than just this. There was a whole lot of things that we should consider as aerial threats. Now, just recently, Jeff posted it in UBR Truth Seekers a question about, or more like a statement, question statement type thing. Is this going to make it easier for other groups, other departments, and I guess you can take it to other countries, other governments? Would it make it for them a little easier now that the United States has kind of come out of the closet, so to speak, to be able to share what they have and not keep everything so secret, what they're investigating. I think if I were them, I'd keep my mouth shut just for a little longer, just to see where this tie-in with To the Stars Academy, Tom DeLonge, Elizondo, and everybody else in that organization, where this thing is going. So just like the next guy, hey, listen, I am tickled pink. I grabbed my big girl panties, but I'm not ready to just go and parade them out in public. I want to know what's next. Some of the articles say that there's a couple other videos that need to come out. Well, we're waiting. But of course, you want to make sure you get your max clickbait, get the max advertisement out there, and collect your money before you give us another video. There's no doubt in my mind that that's why this is being held back. But you hear it all the time when it comes to ufology, and that is to have a healthy amount of skepticism. Keep your minds opened. Read things carefully 2-3 times before you commit to identifying any rubber dicker as someone that's telling the truth. And in the meantime, we'll just come on here and shoot the shit. Examine what the hell they're talking about and what they're presenting. Because like I said, the video, while it's fantastic, I'm sure you can pick a few dozen sci-fi movies over the last 10 years and get a similar video out of it. Well, listen, thank you for joining me today. Sorry I'm a little late, but the next episode will be dropping on Friday. And I'm sure this story is going to keep snowballing into epic proportions. So we should continue to talk about it and review it and see what the hell else people got to say about it. Because I already noticed that people that were claiming that the government knew about UFOs before, they've already started conducting interviews and rehashing their stories. Because I guess they feel they're on firmer ground now. Now that they have somebody from the government itself saying they've been investigating it recently. But we'll see what happens. In the meantime, ciao.